In 1600, a group of London merchants sat in a room and asked themselves one question. What if a company could own a country? Not run it, not tax it a little, own it. 200 years later, that company and the empire it built controlled a quarter of the planet, 1 out of every 4 human beings alive, and a financial system so powerful that we are still living inside it today. This isn't a war story. This is the biggest business plan in human history, and almost nobody tells it that way. Here's the part most people skip. Britain didn't become a superpower because it was the toughest kid on the block. It became one because of geography and finance. It's an island, no enemies knocking on a land border, no giant army needed just to survive. So, while its rivals on the continent poured their money into soldiers, Britain poured its money into ships. Then, in 1694, it built something that changed everything: a national bank that let the government borrow money cheaply and fast. Cheap money, plus a navy that could reach anywhere on Earth. That's not luck. That's a machine built on purpose. Once Britain had the ships and the money, it built a loop. And this loop is the real engine of the whole empire. Step 1. Raw materials come in from the colonies: cotton, sugar, timber. Step 2. British factories turn those raw materials into finished goods. Step 3. Those finished goods get shipped right back to the same colonies and sold at a markup. Here's the twist that made it brutal. Colonies were often blocked by law from building their own factories, so they had no choice. Sell us your raw materials cheap. Buy our finished goods at our price. It wasn't trade, it was a closed circuit, and every single rotation of it sent money in one direction, straight to London. Now meet the strangest company in history, the East India Company. On paper, it was just a business: shareholders, a board, dividends. In reality, by the mid-1700s, this company had its own private army of over 250,000 soldiers, twice the size of Britain's actual military. It collected taxes, it made laws, it went to war, it governed more than 100 million people. Imagine if a modern corporation didn't just lobby the government, it was the government for an entire subcontinent. That's not an exaggeration. That's the East India Company. And it invented the modern multinational corporation almost by accident. Every extraction machine eventually breaks something, and for this empire, it was people. When a region's economy is built entirely around shipping wealth outward, there's nothing left when a crisis hits. In Ireland in the 1840s, even as 1 million people starved to death, food kept getting exported out of the country. In Bengal in 1943, millions died, not because there was no food, but because prices had spiked so high that ordinary people simply couldn't afford to eat, while colonial policy made things worse. This is the part historians argue over the most. Was this cruelty, or just a system doing exactly what it was built to do, protecting profit even at the cost of human lives? By the 1940s, 2 world wars had drained Britain dry. It couldn't afford its own empire anymore. And within 20 years, most of it was gone. But here's the twist nobody talks about. The empire ended, but the machine it built didn't. London is still one of the top financial centers on Earth. The offshore banking havens, the Cayman Islands, Bermuda, those legal structures trace straight back to colonial-era institutions. English is still the language of global business. The routes, the banks, the legal systems, the flags came down, but the architecture stayed standing. So the next time you use a global bank transfer, sign an international contract in English, or hear about a company sheltering money offshore, you're not looking at some neutral, natural system. You're looking at the leftover machinery of an empire that once ran a quarter of the earth like a business and never fully powered it down. If this kind of story blew your mind, subscribe, because next time we're breaking down how that same machine shaped the American economy itself.